Okay. I don't know. There we go. Got it back. Okay, guys, had a bit of a technical glitch, but I seem to be okay. Welcome to a, this is live, right? I really hope so. Anyway, welcome to another edition of Rob's Little Blue Book, and tonight we are doing Carne Asada, and if you guys can actually hear me, somebody type in the chat, because pretty sure where it's going, but anyway. So this is a really old recipe for me, and this is actually a recipe for me. This is, I learned this whole thing from Jeffrey Steingarten, who was the Vogue food critic pretty much since the beginning of time. Super Lab, okay, great. He's a great writer. He's a really interesting guy. He's kind of funny. It turns out on reality TV he's kind of a dick, but overall he's a good writer. He's very entertaining to read, and he kind of, well, like he wrote, this is like from the 80s. So this is before food blogs and you had to hear somebody's life story to get the recipe. But in his case, it was actually worth it because he was a very entertaining writer. So I have been making this over the years for a long time. One of the reasons I want to show you guys is because we're going to do flour tortillas tonight, which are a totally different thing than what you get in the supermarket, which is not really a flour tortilla. I know it's made of flour and it says tortilla on the package, but you'll see tonight it is not. It's just not. So I'm going to switch up here. Let's get back to the camera. So I'm going to do things a little bit out of order. I may do a cocktail halfway through because we may need to fill some time. And you don't have to do things the way I'm doing it tonight. I'm going to try and do everything live for you guys, which means I'm going to like jump steps from different preparations because we have to marinate the steak for a little bit, not long. And the flour for the tortillas has to sit for a few minutes. So we're going to do the steak first. Get it in the marinade. I'm going to show you how to do that. So I have here this lovely flank steak. So the cuts of meat you can use for this are either, well, I mean, use any beef you want, but traditionally, it would be skirt steak, and when Steingarten wrote the article, skirt steak wasn't widely available, and it's still not really, but at least you can get it. So if you can lay your hands on skirt steak, I highly recommend it. It's a wonderful cut to work with. It's a really beefy tasting cut. It's great. In our case, I'm using flank steak, which I know you can get everywhere, and flank steak. So the interesting thing about flank steak is this used to be a relatively inexpensive cut. My mom used to make us an amazing flank steak dinner. It was a grilled flank steak. It was like a soy brown sugar marinade thing. It was awesome. It was awesome when I was a kid. And I mean, one of the reasons we did that is because it was less expensive than other kinds of steak. But it's not that cheap anymore. Like this was $14.99 a pound or something, and they had strips on sale for $16.99 for just a couple of bucks more. But I'm going to stick with this because it's kind of the traditional cut, and it actually works out really well just for cutting it up, which you'll see in a sec. I'm going to say how I want to do that, and I'm going to cut it with the grain. I don't know. Keep bouncing it back and forth. So what you want to do, flank steak's already pretty thin. We're going to make it thinner. You want to have a sharp knife when you do this because we're going to cut through it. We're going to cut through it horizontally. So put your hand flat on the top here and just run your knife through the cut. Be very careful that the knife doesn't, you can see it's just going through nicely, but be very careful your knife doesn't pop out the top and go through your palm of your hand, because this knife for sure would go through the palm of your hand before you even knew what was happening. So now we have two beautiful pieces of meat here. So this needs to go in the marinade, and we're just going to do it in a Ziploc bag. The meat can just go in. And so we're going to leave this in as long as we can, but you really don't have to leave it in more than about half an hour. This isn't a super complex marinade. I'm now thinking about how I want to do this. You know what? I don't want to put it in just yet. Okay, so we're going to salt and pepper these first. Since this is a marinade, I don't really need to salt and pepper both sides. I'm just going to do one side. If you're wondering why I'm using finishing salt here, it's because I'm super fancy. No, I'm kidding. I ran out, if you can believe it, I ran out of salt, of all things. And so I'm using my good stuff. But there's nothing wrong with it. Salt's salt, right? Okay, and we want a couple teaspoons of black pepper. I'm going to use my cam pots here. My personal favorite. Pepper's a really important seasoning, spice to add to your dishes. And if you don't, without being too pretentious about it, and I don't mean this to be pretentious, but if you don't have a favorite peppercorn, and you probably don't, because let's face it, most people don't. I just locked up, didn't I? Okay guys, I don't know if you can see me, but wow, that's annoying. Okay, I'm back. Glitch galore tonight. I don't know, my, okay, you can hear me great. Technical glitch. I was talking about peppercorns, and I really don't. Am I still frozen? I don't think so. I can see me now. I don't mean to be pretentious, and it's really not a pretentious thing. But pepper's a really important spice, and it's something that you can easily go out and experiment with and taste on your own, and you can find your own favorite peppercorn. You know, I really like these Campo ones. I think they're absolutely fantastic. But you might like telecherries. You might like just the, no, I don't want to say generic, but most of them come from Vietnam. Probably not pepper. So think about that. Like, ingredients are important, and seasonings are important, and it's important to pay attention to what you're seasoning your food with. That probably sounded pretentious no matter what, but I really didn't mean it to be. Okay, so then you can kind of do cayenne to taste. I don't want to make, this is cayenne from Farm Boy, and it's actually pretty potent. So I'm gonna dump a huge chunk on right there. No, kidding. I'm gonna just try and take it easy with this. I don't want this like super spicy. Okay, so that's our dry spices for the marinade. We are going to let's do some garlic. So I want like not that many. 5 cloves, and just crush them. Crush them more. 2, 3. Okay, now I feel like we're in a better place with the marinade. We can stack these guys up. They can go in the bag. And we are going to add some olive oil. About that much. That's probably about half a cup, depending on how much steak. You just want to coat it right, and the bag seems to do the trick. And then I'm going to put in a bit of orange juice too, a little bit of citrus flavor, brighten it up a bit. Now, as I said, I'm doing all this for you guys because I want to show you that this is actually something you can throw together, you know, within the time that you sort of set aside to make yourself dinner. But you obviously could do any or all of these steps earlier. And if you wanted something super fast and you had everything done, you'll see that at the end it goes together super quick. Okay, so any questions on the marinade? That's it, we're done. And we're just gonna put that aside. And continue on. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to do. And now we want to do the flour tortillas, but in the meantime, so we had a request last week for, and we're going to get to it next week. We had a request last week to use dried chilies in something. And I'm going to next week do mole. I found a really good, not a beginner mole, starter mole that I can show you guys how to make, which will be wonderful. But it was too much to do tonight because I had to go to the office, which kind of sucked. So today we are going to do, I'm going to show you how to make a salsa roja, which does use dried peppers. So I'm partly keeping my promise. And this makes a wonderful spicy hot sauce. So there you go. Holy moly. Very funny. Okay, so we're going to do that in a sec. So in order to make the salsa roja, one of the things you want to do is take a tomato, and you can just split it in half any way you want, really. I'm going to take it apart like that. And this goes in a pot of boiling water until the water kind of turns pink. And I'm going to do that now because that's got to cook for a few minutes. So remember that that's the first step of doing the salsa roja. Now we're going to move on to the tortillas. So flour tortillas are wonderful. At least the ones you make yourself are wonderful. And we need to get this dough going and let it rest. Really need to get a haircut. So I have here flour. I have about 8 ounces of flour, it looks like. I really hope that's 8 ounces. I'm going to do a half recipe. And I have some lard. So flour tortillas have lard in them. Don't use tender flake here. This get a good quality lard. This is leaf lard that I get from my butcher. Leaf lard is lard from a particular part of the pig, and I forget exactly where, but it's wonderful for baking. But if you go to a Mexican grocer as well, well, any butcher's going to have good lard. But if you go to a Mexican butcher, you can get like manteca, which is lard. They usually have lots. And I get that up the street as well. So that was about, you want about a quarter cup for, it's basically a little bit less than a cup per pound. So, or sorry, a little bit less than half a cup per pound. I've got about a quarter cup here and half a pound of flour. You can do this in your KitchenAid here, but honestly, it doesn't take any time. And all you want to do is mix the flour in with your hands until you get a consistency like, well, cornmeal. It's like cutting pastry flour. Okay? And you can see the KitchenAid would not speed this up. I hardly ever use my KitchenAid mixer anymore for dough, any kind of dough. Even bread, it's just not worth it. And then you want about half a cup of water, say. You will get a feel for how your dough's supposed to come together after you do this a couple times. So I'm just going to mix this slightly and then we'll turn it out onto the thing and give it a quick knead. And I may add a bit of liquid here. Well, any questions so far? This is very straightforward, this part. So unlike some of the other doughs that we've done, like a pasta dough or whatever, this doesn't need like a ton of time to hydrate. You can probably get away with going after it. We're gonna roll this out probably in 15 minutes. That's about long enough. But it's also the kind of thing you could throw in the fridge overnight and it wouldn't hurt it. So if you want to like prep your dough in advance, like the day before or something, that would be fine too. My tomato is boiling merrily away, and this is exactly the way we do the pasta dough. I don't know if you guys remember, but it's like pull it back with a palm of your hand, give it a push, quarter turn, push, and I'm just pulling it back, folding it over on itself. This is exactly the way I do my pasta dough. This won't need as much kneading. Is that redundant? No, it's not redundant. It's just two different words. But I'm still gonna give it a good, take the coriander out of it. We're gonna give it a good couple of minutes here. And then we'll set it aside and get on to the other stuff. So the other things we're gonna make tonight, while we're talking about it, is we're doing a salsa roja, which is, we're gonna use these chilies here, which we'll talk about in a sec. We're gonna do a salsa ranchera, which is basically pico de gallo. It's just a different name. I'm gonna put a little bit of cilantro in that. And we're gonna do a guacamole. Speaking of moles, by the way, mole just means sauce, and guacamole just literally means avocado sauce, in case you're wondering about the word. So the guac we're gonna make for the tacos, though, as a topping, or garnish or whatever, is not the same as you would make for, like, dipping tortilla chips in, for example. It's gonna be a little blander. We're not gonna season it much because the meat already has a lot of seasoning, and it's gonna be a lot thinner. Normally when I make guac for like dipping, I like it kind of chunky, rustic, whatever you want to call it. But in this particular case, we're aiming for kind of a smooth, not quite a puree, but kind of like that. So what do you guys think of this? Do you think this is ready for resting? Kind of feel like it is. Welcome, Gabby, by the way. Okay, so let's just, there we go. So as I said, not quite as long as a pasta dough, but it'll do. And we're gonna set that aside until we need it in a few minutes. We're not gonna need it again. You know what I mean. I have to pick a different word for that. And the other thing we're gonna have to hope is that my avocado is ready. Okay, so let's do the salsa roja next. These tomatoes are almost ready. They can keep going. So here's the other part. The lard does not make it flaky. You'll see when we do them, they end up almost like translucent. It's a really, really interesting texture, but not flaky like pie dough. So what we're gonna do here, and this is the part that will probably clear your house when you do it, is we want to toast these guys. Hey, Nick. Nick, we're doing carne asada tonight, which is basically steak tacos. So you missed the first little bit, but we've got meat marinating, and that's kind of it. So guys, I'm using arbol peppers, chilies de arbol for these. These are really spicy, but you can use this salsa roja technique for pretty much any chili. You could do this with anchos. You could do this with pasillas or guajillos or mulattos or morritos or any chili. This technique, and it's one of the reasons I wanted to show you, because as you know, we like to do techniques here, not recipes, although this is a recipe. This is one of the few times where I really like this recipe. This goes back to, like, this recipe for me goes back to like when I first started cooking, when I was still, and I still follow recipes, I don't mean it that way, but before I knew all my techniques and things, I would just follow recipes, the same as everybody, right? And I think there's a lot of value in learning. One of the reasons I like to teach techniques is it's important to know why you're doing what you're doing, you know? We are not exactly leaving in the seeds, Rebecca. We are going to, we're going to toast, you'll see as we toast these up, the seeds will kind of fall out. So with arbol, most of the seeds are right at the top. So you notice I pinched the top off to take the seeds off the top. And as we toast these, more of the seeds will fall out. So I'm not going to leave in a ton of seeds. Yes, it's still going to be spicy, but it won't be crazy. It's important when you're doing this part, guys, is don't well, don't touch your eyes, first of all. And make sure you wash your hands quite well before you use the washroom. But the other thing too is, where's it going with that, guys? Oh, don't lean over the pan when you're toasting chilies. This is gonna, it's basically, I'm gonna pepper spray the apartment with these. And because we want these to go quite dark, but you don't want a lungful of this. Rebecca, normally I would, but I'm going to be into that in 15 minutes, so it's not really going to dry out. If I was keeping it any longer, then I would wrap it up the way I do my pasta dough. But for the 15 minutes, I think it should be okay. That would be, Gabby, that would be very spicy popcorn. Okay, so we're almost there. You guys can't smell this, but wow, I can. Can you see the smoke? Yeah, so this is when you know your chilies are starting to get close to done. Yeah, you can see the smoke coming off. That is the indicator that you're almost ready to go. You don't want them blackened, but you do want them pretty dark. You know, not like 14-year-old emo dark, but pretty dark. Keep moving these around. I'm going to pick them out with tongs in just a sec. Okay, these are almost ready. And there, so you see, ooh, I did exactly what I said not to do. Got a lungful of the pan. I want to show you guys this one here. That's the color you're looking for. Now I'm not gonna they're done. Okay. And then they just go into your food processor. You could use a blender here. If you have one of those like Ninja Bullet things, that would be just fine too. And we're gonna save this pan for the tortillas in a few minutes. It is too hot to touch. Whew. Wow. Yep. Got a lungful. Give me a sec, guys. So be careful when you're working with chilies. Even I just heard Serena sneeze in the other room. It's spicy. Okay, so if you were, oh, spice grinders are cool. So you want to cook your tomatoes. See how that sort of reddish orange foam, that lets you know your tomatoes are done. And you want a little bit of the tomato water, just like maybe cover the chilies. And then of course your tomatoes themselves. And then just give them a quick. Try with the knife. Looks amazing. Okay, great. We still need this actually. So this is just going to go in a bowl. Now you can also, I want it pretty. See that, Rebecca? That's kind of what I want. This is a hot sauce, so I'm going to drizzle it over the taco. So that's about exactly what I want. Now you can. You can put this through a sieve if you want to strain out the seeds. And yeah, I don't, Rebecca, because damn, guys. All right, I'm gonna put this far away for now. So to answer your question, Rebecca, can I breathe? I can breathe. Okay. It's kind of personal preference, whether you strain it or not. You can strain it, nothing wrong with that. I like the extra smoky depth of flavor you get from the toasted chilies pieces that are in there. It's kind of up to you. Obviously, if you strain it and strain out the seeds, it'll be a little less spicy. But quite frankly, it is a hot sauce. It's supposed to be spicy. And taking just those few seeds out probably isn't going to do a whole lot. So there you go. Let's get on to, what do you think? Oh, the salsa ranchera. Let's do that. Maybe I can catch my breath, because I can go straight from making hot pepper sauce to cutting onions. That'll be fun. So this is really straightforward, guys. You guys have probably made pico de gallo a million times. Not much to this. It's just an onion. Any other questions on the salsa roja? This is probably more onion than I need, but do I need onion for anything else for this? Not really, eh? Oh, I want a bit for the guac. Okay, that'll work perfectly. Let's just get your onion diced. And you want like a 1/4 inch dice is about right, is kind of what I like. Which I figure that is. Now we don't need all of this because that's going to make a lot. So I'm going to put that in a bowl for now until I figure out how much I need. Some of that's going to go into the guac, and I'll explain that part in just a sec. And then a little tomato. So the trick with the tomatoes, guys, I'm going to use 2. You can use, I got like hothouse tomatoes here. I got Romas here. It doesn't really matter. Romas actually really make a really nice salsa because they're a little more consistent in size. But what you want to do here is you don't want your salsa wet. So what I usually do is, you can see here you got like your little seed cavities. I'm just going to take that over the sink and stick my finger in and pop out the seeds and the liquid. Sometimes you want it and sometimes you don't. And in this case we don't. So again, we want like 1/4 inch dice here, so I'm just gonna do that. And you don't want like huge chunks. This is actually a pretty fine dice. There we go. And there's only 2 of us tonight. Maybe I don't need to do another one here. This only keeps like, it's so fresh. It's better to just sort of make it up as you need it. So I'm just gonna go with one tomato. And for this dish, we want. Do I have another bowl? Not really, eh? For this dish, I kind of want. Here we go. Penny, yeah, Romas are less wet. It's one of the reasons I like them for this. So you want equal parts, you guys can see here, kind of just equal parts tomato and onion. And then in here, I'm gonna add a little bit of, I'm gonna chop a little cilantro in there. You can also throw, I'm not doing it for these tacos, but you can also throw in like a jalapeno, like a hot pepper into that. Hi, by the way, Penny. And you want your coriander, cilantro. You want a pretty fine mince here as well. And in it goes. Okay, that is our salsa ranchera. I'm gonna just toss in a bit of salt. Giant piece of onion. Another giant piece of onion. There you go. Okay, so any questions on salsa ranchera? Now the $64,000 question, which is probably significantly more these days with inflation the way it is my avocado any good? I really hope so. So we're gonna see in just a sec. Okay, I bought this today, so this is the softest one I can find, so cross your fingers. So let's see how we're gonna do here. It's not too bad. It's not the greatest. Let's see here. No, it's okay. Okay, great. Come on, let go, Pit. Come on. A stubborn Pit. And I'm out of bowls again. Okay, so let me show you how we do this. So, if you're making your, wow, that, give me a sec, guys. That hot sauce is something else. If you're making your guac to dip chips in, you're gonna make it differently. You're gonna season it a little more. You might chop in a little tomato, but for a condiment, I want something a little thinner, a little more of a puree, and the way we do that is I start with a little bit of onion here. I only have one avocado, so that's like a pinch-ish of onion. That's about right. So this is going to be our base. I'm going to add, you can add a spoon for what? Oh, for the pit. Yeah, you're right. That probably would have been a good idea. So for liquid, a little beer is fine. You can use water, whatever. And then you want to make like a paste. Perfect. More of a paste. Okay, so I've added too much onion, or sorry, too much water, and I want this to be a little bit thicker. So, yeah, I use beer. Lime juice is good too, but as I said, Rebecca, for this one, I want the purity of the guac, the avocado flavor. Although, that's much better. So I just realized we're talking about the purity of something that has Corona in it now, which I know seems like an oxymoron, but whatever. I don't need these. Okay. And then I'll get a spoon now, Serena. So we're just gonna scoop out our avocado. I used to have this really cool avocado tool that both scooped out, and it was awesome for mashing up avocados. It was based on a particular kind of dough whipping, kneading thing that is Scandinavian. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling, but it worked really well, and I lost it over the years, but it was really handy. It looked like one of those like kitchen gadgets that just didn't have any use whatsoever, but it was actually pretty good. Okay. Sorry, Serena. Serena's still coughing in the other room. I think next time I'll do that outside. Probably a much better idea. So let's see. These are... Okay, I'm actually gonna give these a... I'm not digging the consistency of these avocados, guys. We may have to resort to a little food processor here. All right, this is an experiment now. Normally, I have ripe avocados, and I just don't right now, so I'm gonna try and make this a thing in the mini chop. I don't recommend this part, by the way. I think that there's probably better ways to do this, but I need a head start on the mash, you know. No, it actually looks okay. It's not the consistency I want, so I'm going to add a little more of the onion. Oh, I'm going to add it all. There we go. I did have the right amount. Okay, so for future reference, this actually works pretty well. If your avocados aren't quite ripe, I got the consistency I want. And it's just gonna go, as you can see, this is a lot finer than you would do for like, I could even add a little more liquid to this, but I'm not going to because I'm kind of tired of fussing with it. And again, no seasoning. I haven't added any salt to this or anything. It's just the way it is. You could put, you could add a bit of cilantro to this, but I kind of like just the way it looks right now. So I'm gonna leave it the way it is. Maybe put something smaller so I don't have to reclaim some of my counter space. There you go. Okay, guys, that is a guacamole suitable for taco toppings. Maybe I can actually like do a little presentation here. Get my pico de gallo in a little bowl here too. Perfect. Okay. Any questions? We got our two garnishes ready to go. We've got our salsa roja sitting evilly over here in the corner. Let's bring that out center stage carefully. And those are the three toppings we want for our tacos. We have a lot of extra tomatoes and limes. I think that was for the margarita. Don't know if we're gonna get to the margarita yet. So any questions? That's the first step, and now we're going to roll out some tortillas. I need this counter relatively dry here. Okay. Excellent, Spencer. I'm glad to hear that. Inspiration, I mean, is kind of what I want to do for everybody, because yeah, it's important to be inspired to cook. I really think so. Okay, so these actually these get rolled out like almost like little mini sfolias, like little mini sheets of pasta. So the way I do this is just this makes about 8 normally. I'm going to try and make it into 10 because these are flat. We're also like, you want these small. We're not making Crunchwrap Supreme wrap tortillas here. These are small and individual. So let's see if we can get these into, I kind of almost cut like, well, let's see. And into 5 maybe? I normally cut these into 4 and they're too big. Let's just see what happens. Well, I cut the end off, it's too small. And these are about the same size they always are. Oh well. I did want to make them a bit smaller. I think these are going to be okay. Well, this one's going to be a little guy. Try that one out. Let's see if I can cut this into 5 or 6 maybe. I'll cut this one to 6. 6 is a little easier. One, that. Another little guy, you guys can go together. There we go. Okay, before I roll these out, I'm gonna have a sip of beer and try and detox my throat. And I have to get the pan going too. I'm gonna have to fry these up as we go. Give me one sec, guys. I just gotta not grab the cast iron pan by the hot handle. So one of the critical things, or one of the tricky things about this, is the temperature of your pan, because you'll see when we start cooking them, you kind of want them to go. It's hard because you want them to be. You guys can't even see the pan. How am I gonna do this? Let's move me over here. Much better. I'm small again though. Oh well, whatever. But at least we can see the pan. So they should take about 2 minutes on the first side to cook, and you want them to brown and kind of bubble up, but you also don't want them to go white and dry. So let's roll out a couple. I'll just show you as we go. It's been a little while since I did this. It won't be like hand-pulled noodles bad, but we'll see. You can give yourself a little bit of a head start, squash it flat. You can use a wine bottle for this. You can use a beer bottle. I have this, I don't even know what it is. I got it in an Asian grocery store. It's obviously some kind of rolling pin. Maybe it's for doing wonton wrappers, but it is awesome for tortillas. And we just roll this out like a little, if you guys remember this folia, you just, so I'm starting, because you want it to stay round, and these are hard to keep round. But I'm starting here. So if you look at your pin, I'm halfway. The leading edge of the pin is exactly halfway, and I'm going up but not to the end, because if I roll off the end, I'm going to squash the lip flat, and I don't need to, because when I turn it, that little bit will get rolled anyway. And as much as I try and do this right, eventually, and if you're really fussy about it, you can kind of like keep it round as you go. I usually end up with some kind of oblong shape, and that's okay. You will get better at it. Stuck a bit. You do want them pretty thin, but not like, they don't need to be as thin as the supermarket ones, which are weird. Anyway, when you get to a certain point, now my pan's not hot enough, and I can, if I wanted, I could like pinch that out, but it's a tortilla, guys. Like, don't fuss about it too much. And you want these about, so I normally do these 6 inches across, and I find they're a little too big. So I think 5 inches across, that's about 5 inches, is exactly where you want to be. Oh, I like the thickness of this one. So let's just throw this in the pan and see where we get to. Definitely not hot enough, but this is like when you do pancakes, you know, the first couple you're going to throw in, and they don't really thicken, Rebecca. They just kind of, they will puff up a little bit, but that's kind of it. So I can start rolling another one and we'll be here all night. I'm just gonna flat, give myself a head start. So unlike corn tortillas, so corn tortillas, of course, you don't roll them out, you just do them in a press, which is actually a lot easier. It's one of the reasons I don't actually make flour tortillas all that often. Making these for like a crowd of 20, 30 people is a little bit time consuming. But you get the hang of it, like it goes pretty quick. So Steingarten learned to make these from, no, you don't, You don't need grease in the pan. And yes, you definitely need a gas mask. I actually, you know, I have my good ventilator for doing spray paint. I probably should have put that on. I'm still feeling it. It's not quite as bad. There we go. There's our bubbles. Ooh. And I would like this a little browner. I got a couple of brown spots here. It's not as brown as I want, but it's not too bad either. Depending if I did grease in the pan, they would crisp up like tortilla chips, which is not what I'm looking for. Okay, so this one's done. Okay, hang on. Let me put it on a plate. So I don't know if you guys can see how it's like translucent like that? You don't want it, that's exactly what I'm looking for. A few brown spots and that translucence makes an amazing tortilla. So let's get this turned down just a bit maybe. Let's see how this, so let's watch this one. We'll see how quick it puffs up. No, it's doing great. Okay. And again, I'm just starting halfway, don't roll off the end. And it's not quite a 90-degree turn. I kind of go from like 12 to 10 on my turns. Getting a little bit sloppy with this one. Stretch it out. Also, depending on how your counter grabs the tortilla and how much friction you get, will affect how you roll it out too. But I'm definitely much more a fan of this size. So this, as I said, this is about 1 inch in diameter less than I normally do, and I'm quite happy with the way these are rolling out. This one's gonna be a little oblong. Let's stretch it. There we go. Yeah, that's about right. And you can kind of like, if you need to, you can kind of tweak them and pull them. By the way, these are way rounder. Yes, Rebecca, everything I learned from rolling out the, this is perfect. That coloring, that's exactly what you want. And on the other side, it'll just take a sec. Everything I learned, I'm seeing the delay, it's funny. Yes, time to flip. Everything I learned about rolling out sfolia, I applied directly to making these tortillas, and it has made my life so much easier. These are literally like just little mini sheets of pasta. Then we've got translucent on both sides. This one's done. Let's get this guy in the pan. And then we get to cook up the steak and eat it. Let's do these quick. I don't want to, maybe I won't do them all tonight because otherwise we'll be here for a little while. Okay, and again, we're just gonna 10 to 2. You don't want to push too hard because it'll stick on the counter. And again, you'll just have to get to know your counter, your traction, the flour you use. It's all going to be, these are very environmental, right? It's going to, baking, well, this isn't baking, but anything involving flour kind of seems to be like that. Yeah, it's not quite ready yet. Flip this guy over. But I'm really quite pleased with this little rolling pin thing too. And again, so this isn't the roundest of all tortillas, and you don't need to see the cathedral like you do with the pasta, but these are actually about the right size. Okay, this needs to be flipped. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. Okay, so now I know my pan's at the right temperature, and now that I've got everything settled, I'm probably just gonna make a couple more. We're not gonna have time for a margarita tonight, that's okay. I've done margaritas for you guys before, so I was just thinking about it because we were at a party over the weekend and they had margarita jello shots, which apparently were very, very tasty. I have no doubt they were. I didn't try one, but and Serena will say that's because I'm a snob, but it wasn't that. I was enjoying my beer. Okay, see, I feel like I could eat 3 tacos, and I'm pretty sure Serena can too. So I'm gonna do 2 more of these, and then we'll get on our grill. So for the flank steak, you'll see when we grill it out, you can just do that in a cast iron pan. So I know they were in Mexico, it would be done on a asador, El Asador. You have tacos El Asador. Asador is just a grill, of course. But if you don't have a plancha or a big steel cast iron plancha at home, and you might not, a big cast iron pan is going to be just fine. You could also grill this over a wood fire. Like if I was outside, I would probably just throw this on the barbecue. But a pan will give us a nice, crispy, kind of like buggered my thing here. Yeah, what do you guys think? This one looks okay. See, this is more the shape I normally roll. I was kind of lucky with the first few. This one I feel like is a little less round. Anyway, whoa. And it's most of the time you spend cooking a tortilla is on the one side and not the other. And these look incredible. Really happy. When I was first learning how to make these, I would overcook them slightly and they would get a little hard and a little white. And they still tasted amazing. It's just the texture isn't as good as what we're doing tonight. Okay, one more. Oh, maybe. Here. I'm not doing you guys for sure. No, I'm not doing, okay. We'll just do 6. I'll roll those out tomorrow. And because I haven't messed with the air in here enough, I'm going to be frying steak with no hood in the apartment. I'm going to be smoky as hell again. What did we do last week that was so smoky? I don't remember. Anyway, let's get this guy going. That's almost ready. I will say I'm getting better at this. It's been a long time since I rolled out flour tortillas. Until recently, anyway. Look at that. I'm actually even proud of this one. Look at that! Digging it. I'm really digging this one. I mean, I would say... Oh! I would say it looks store-bought if that wasn't an insult. Right, we did tacos al pastor last week. That's done. Let's get this last guy in. Love the shape of that one. Look at that. Okay. Do a little cleanup. I think I'm gonna open the window actually. Give me a sec, guys. Really fumed the place up. You know, we'll do, oh, this is ready. I can just, yeah. Let's do a lime for, we're just gonna wedge up a lime for squeezing over the tacos because that'll be good. Get some lime wedges. There we go. This one's done. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so now we have 6 really good tortillas that I'm very happy about. And now we get on to the main event. I mean, I guess it's all the main event, isn't it? Okay, so this is gonna be hot as hell. So a little trick, guys. I mean, I do this, used to do this in restaurants, but if you're putting a pan with a hot handle somewhere and you're leaving it aside, leave the towel on it. Because you will not, one day you will not remember that the pan is hot. Yes, the main event is doing the dishes. So, Gabby, normally, when I'm not cooking on stream, and I've told everybody else this, but when I'm not cooking on stream, I am always cleaning as I go. When you're cooking, you always have time to clean. Every spare moment, and it makes your life so much easier at the end of the night. Normally when I'm done cooking, I have maybe the final pan I cooked in to wash, and at the end of dinner, I just have the dinner dishes and that's it. Okay, I'm actually going to move this off to this side so it's not directly under my camera. My poor cameras take a beating. These are going to stay warm. I don't need to cover them. So what we're going to do here is we're going to just fry up one big piece. It's going to go in a... We're going to chop it into a bowl, probably this one. So this gets, you'll see, I'll show you how you guys do it. But you slice it across the grain into strips, and then you just cut it into like bite-sized pieces. So this is not like a fajita style piece of meat, or it's not like the tacos al pastor that we did last week. You kind of want like little succulent cubes. This is not hot enough yet. Any questions? I feel like we've kind of covered things as we were going. And you can see how simple this would be to make if you had all these things ready to go. You know, if you had made this earlier in the day and your guac was in the fridge and your hot sauce was also prepared, this would go together in no time at all. And even so, it's only been a little under an hour. It's not too bad. Also, if you have one of these, don't wash it with water, just wipe it off. Okay. Almost ready. And I'm thinking just a couple of minutes aside is going to be plenty. I think I got pissed off at my timers and threw them out. It'll warp, Penny. Sorry, Penny's asking why no water when you wash the rolling pin. It's wood, and you run the risk of, if you don't get it completely dry, you run the risk of warping it, which makes it significantly harder to roll things out. All right. So at this point, and this has been marinating now for almost an hour, which is perfect. And you just kind of let it drain just a little bit. You don't want the garlic on it. And then into the pan. One piece at a time. Ooh, it smells so good. Yeah, I'm happy. Got my steak tongs. We're good. Yeah, looks amazing. Okay, we got a couple minutes while this cooks. Any other questions? I don't have time to throw together a margarita. It's probably all right. Oh, you guys can't see? I'll show you the color when we flip this. I'm loving the color. Well, I can show you now. You guys can see. This is the color we're looking for. Perfect. Might even be able to do this less than... No, so one of the reasons I love it, Rebecca's asking if we would marinate it for longer. You don't need to. This is a quick marinade. It adds a citrus boost to it, and 30 minutes is plenty. Penny, I learned this from, of all people, I'm actually going to flip this, guys. I'll sit for a sec. I learned this from Jeffrey Steingarten. He was the Vogue, I think I said earlier, but he was the Vogue food critic, and he has two collections of articles, or I mean they were articles in Vogue, and he's a great writer, and he's funny, and he travels all over the world, and he's extremely passionate about food. So I learned this recipe. Well, I learned this recipe probably 30 years ago, when I first got the book, and I liked it because. And you can read the article if you ever read it. It's called "Crossing the Line" by Jeffrey Steingarten. He went down to Baja Peninsula. He was in LA and he kept driving back and forth. And there was a little taco stand that he kind of fell in love with, and the whole family got together. Like, it was a family-run thing where they all pitched and made the tacos. And he originally the grandmother was the one who made the tortillas. And she was so shy, it took him like 3 days before she would even talk to him and sort of show him how to make the tortillas. And so you saw what I did here. In the article, he says she made between 40 and 50 dozen tortillas every morning before the taco stand opened. I mean, that's a lot of tortillas. Honestly, I get tired after rolling and cooking about 15 of them. Yeah, I'm gonna let this go the full 2 minutes. I have a feeling it's gonna be on the medium side, which is gonna be perfect for Serena. And then we'll plate up a couple of these and eat them. Yeah, this is almost done. So as I said, one of the reasons I love this dish, you're talking about marinating time and everything else, is that it's just nothing needs to wait. You can just get to it. Okay. So now, to carve it, I'm going to put this on the stove. Okay. And I think to make my life easy, we're going to cut this meat initially across the grain. You guys, I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but the grain of the meat is quite clear to me because I'm standing right over it. Runs this way. Having said that, I'm going to cut it this way first, and I'm going to cut each piece separately. Just make my life, and look at that. It's absolutely perfect doneness for this. And then it's just, we're going to go into strips like this. And then just give it a little turn, and we're just, maybe I'll just use the knife. And then you can just chop it like this. Actually, I don't even need to put it in a bowl. I can just serve it right off this. Make one up for Serena first. We're gonna go with 2 here, like this. Give it a little toss here. 1, look at that. 2, I'm going to save that for mine in just a sec. And spoon. A little guacamole. And again, I would honestly probably make this a little more liquidy next time. I'm going to skip the hot sauce on Serena's. And then a little salsa ranchera. Oh. Damn it. There's something about never happened before. I'll be back in a sec, guys. Okay, can you guys see me again? Somebody tell me you can see me. I don't know why that keeps happening. Okay, you can hear me and I'm back, which is good. Frustrating a bit tonight. I have to look into why that's happening. Maybe Spencer can tell me. I've never had it lock up like that. Okay, so there you go. This is two for Serena. I'm gonna leave a couple pieces of lime on the plate for her, and I will be right back, and we'll do a taste test in just a sec. Okay, let's get this one cut up and do the second one. And you can see even as this has been resting, the meats continue to cook. So this is actually a little bit of a thinner piece too, but this is about the right doneness. You don't want this like super pink. You definitely want it medium, not more than medium, because that would be just a travesty. But you also don't want it like blue rare either. Okay, let's give them a toss and their juices there. Let's get another plate. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna do mine. I don't know, Spencer, I don't think it is OBS, because you know what? I think it happened when I hit the mouse, which is so bizarre. It's both times I've frozen up, it's when I've hit the mouse. And I don't know if I have a loose connection on the broadcast panel or what, but I'm not gonna risk touching the mouse right now, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. Okay, so we're gonna do two for me as well, and I'm gonna do this in 2 stages. So let's do this one first. Gonna do like that. Now, I want to taste this, and I'm gonna make myself, I'm allergic to pretty much all of this. Mildly, so nobody panic. But I am mildly allergic to all of this stuff, but it tastes so amazing that I am going to just go with it anyway tonight. Okay, can you guys see? There you go. This is, and I'm gonna, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Spencer, I think I have a shitty cable, to be honest. So there you go, guys. That is the Carne Asada taco, and oh, that's too bad. I deliberately kept them under this time, Serena, because I didn't like them crispy like last time. I'm going to give it a shot, and then I'm going to try the hot sauce. So let's do this first. Yeah, that's what I remember. No, I'm fine with it, don't worry. Wow. I don't agree with the tortillas. I think the tortillas are exactly where I want them, but we can compromise later, and I'll do them a little bit longer. Yeah, I mean, this is wonderful, guys. The meat tastes fresh and amazing. All the toppings we just made, it's just great. Yeah. Huge fan. That's really good. Okay, now I am curious about the hot sauce, so we're going to do that next. And I'm going to switch to just a regular steak. I'm telling myself I'm doing this to test it, the hot sauce and the purity by itself, but it's also because I'm allergic to that. So it's just going to be a slug of meat. And we can take a poll on the hot sauce. What do you think is an appropriate amount of hot sauce for this? I haven't even tasted this yet. Got a beer, I'm good. Oh, it smells so amazing. Okay, let's see. Steak is so good. Wow. One sec. That is a spicy taco. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I have a pretty high tolerance. That's getting up there though. The good thing is though, you can really taste the chilies and the flavors in it. It's not like so scorching hot that you can't taste anything else. It really complements the steak. Having said that, I think I will put a little less on the next one. But there you go, guys. And look at the colors we got. Love it. Okay, so that's kind of what I wanted to show you guys tonight. This is one of my all-time favorites. And to be honest, I'd kind of forgotten about it until I found the book the other day and needed to make some flour tortillas. And this is just a super easy thing to throw together. I use flank steak here. Use skirt steak if you can find it. But if strip loins are on sale, you could do that too. Like, or even those, you know what you could use is like those really crappy, not only crappy, but supermarkets have those like fast fry strip loins, which are totally useless for just about anything, but they would actually be really good for this. So there you go, experiment. Make it your own. You can make a hot sauce like this. You don't have to use Arbol. You could use, as I said, any chili would go fine. Just boil the tomatoes until the foam is orange. Toast your chilies and pop it in the food processor. But that's kind of all I got. So I'm going to switch back here. Oh, excuse me just a sec, guys. Wow. Oh, hot chili. Okay, I'm back. I'm going to hang around for just a couple minutes. Next week, I have already decided we're going to do the mole, because I think that'll be really fun. It needs I just couldn't get to it today. I just didn't have time to prep everything. There's a lot of ingredients. It looks a little daunting, but again, I'll show you guys how to get prepared and what makes it good. It is an involved process, but it's worth it. The moles have an incredible richness of flavor, and they don't have long cooking times. You know, a lot of people think like moles are like Mexican stews, and they kind of are, but not. Like a mole is like, in a mole, like the sauce is the dish. Yes, there's other things in it, but it's the mole that makes it. But they only cook for about 45 minutes, so we'll have to TV time it, but that'll be okay. And I'm looking forward to it. So join me next week for that. I'm going to hang around for a couple minutes for questions. I'm going to enjoy some more taco. And that's it. Oh, good. Okay, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I love doing this for you guys. I will see everybody next week for the mole.